The message came encrypted, routed through 17 relay stations, and burned itself after being read once. Your daughter lives. The Empress has her in the Blackstone Citadel. You have one chance. Meet me at Dusthaven. Come alone. Captain Thane. Elena Vasquez read it 3 times before the data dissolved, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped the data chip. 8 months. 8 months since the Imperial raid on the mining colony where Sofia had been living. 8 months of searching, bribing, threatening anyone who might know what happened to her 15-year-old daughter. And now this, a message from a name she recognized, Captain Thane of the Revenant, the most notorious pirate crew in the Nebula Cluster. The man whose people had fought the Empire for 20 years, the last survivor of a civilization the Empire had erased. If he said Sofia was alive, he wasn't lying. Pirates didn't waste time with false hope. Elena looked at her reflection in the apartment window. She was a cargo hauler, not a soldier. 43 years old, with more debts than skills. But she was also a mother. She sold everything she owned, bought a ticket on a transport to Dusthaven, and went to meet a pirate. Dusthaven was exactly what it sounded like, a station built into an asteroid where the Empire's laws ended and survival began. Elena walked through corridors that smelled of recycled air and questionable choices, following coordinates that led to a cantina called the Broken Compass. Captain Thane sat in the back corner, impossible to miss. He was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin that shifted between deep blue and violet depending on the light, characteristic of the Vel'kari race. His people had been master navigators, mapping the galaxy's most dangerous regions before the Empire decided their knowledge was too valuable to remain independent. So they'd exterminated them, all except Thane. Mrs. Vasquez, his voice was deep, measured. Sit. She sat, trying not to show fear. His crew surrounded the cantina, rough-looking individuals of a dozen species, all armed, all watching her with predatory interest. Why did you contact me? What do you want? The same thing you do, to hurt the Empress. Thane slid a datapad across the table. Your daughter was taken during a sweep for persons of interest. The Empire is conscripting children now, training them as operatives. Sofia is being held in the Blackstone Citadel, a fortress that's supposed to be impregnable. Elena's stomach turned to ice. You've seen her? We have contacts inside. She's alive, scared but unharmed. They haven't begun her conditioning yet. Thane leaned forward. But they will. In 3 weeks, she'll be transferred to a conditioning facility. After that, you'll never get her back, not as the person she was. Then why tell me? Why not just rescue her yourself if you hate the Empire so much? Because we can't do it alone. The Citadel's defenses were designed by Vel'kari engineers, my people, before the Empire killed them. I know the weaknesses, but I need someone on the inside, someone the Empire won't suspect. A grieving mother looking for work, a cargo specialist willing to take any job, someone who can get hired, get inside, and disable the security systems from within. You want me to be a spy? You want me to be a mother who'll do whatever it takes. We'll provide training, equipment, backup. You get inside, you open the door, we extract Sofia and anyone else they're holding, then we disappear into the nebula, and the Empire loses a fortress and their captives. Elena studied him. What's your angle? You could ransom her back to me or use her as leverage. Why help? For the first time, something flickered in Thane's expression, old pain carefully buried. Because the Empire took someone from me, too. My daughter. Her name was Lyria.
She was 12 when they came. I was off-world, mapping a new trade route. When I returned, my planet was ash and my family was gone. His hands clenched. I can't save Lyria, but I can save Sofia. That has to mean something. The cantina felt smaller suddenly, the air heavier. Elena saw it clearly now. This wasn't just about strategy or revenge. This was about a father who'd failed trying to help a mother who still had a chance. When do we start?
Training was brutal. Thane's crew pushed Elena harder than she'd ever been pushed. Combat drills, infiltration techniques, emergency protocols. She learned to shoot, to lie convincingly, to move through ventilation systems like a ghost. But more than the skills, she learned the crew itself. There was Crix, the explosives expert, a four-armed engineer who hummed while building bombs. Senna, the pilot with cybernetic eyes who could navigate asteroid fields blindfolded. Doc Marlowe, the medic who'd been a battlefield surgeon before the Empire court-martialed him for refusing to torture prisoners. Each of them had lost something to the Empire. Each of them had chosen piracy over submission. And Thane was their anchor. He trained Elena personally, teaching her Vel'kari navigation techniques, showing her how to read the subtle energy patterns that his people had once used to map space. "Your people were beautiful navigators," Elena said one night during a break. "I've read the histories. Before the Empire came, Vel'kari ships never got lost." "We didn't just navigate space, we understood it." Thane traced a pattern in the air, and for a moment Elena saw it, the invisible currents of gravity and energy that flowed through the cosmos. We could feel the galaxy breathing, every star, every planet, all connected. The Empire couldn't stand that we knew things they didn't, so they took our knowledge and killed us for having it. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be ready. Because when we hit that citadel, there's no room for hesitation. You see Sofia, you grab her and run. You don't think, you don't second guess. You trust the crew and you move. Understand?" "I understand." He held her gaze a moment longer. "Good, because you're more than just an asset now. You're one of us, and pirates protect their own." The plan relied on perfect timing and spectacular lies. Elena applied for a cargo position at the Blackstone Citadel under a false identity. Her credentials, expertly forged by the crew, showed years of loyal imperial service. The Empire, desperate for skilled labor in their remote facilities, hired her immediately. She spent 2 weeks working normal shifts, mapping the fortress from inside. Security checkpoints, guard rotations, the location of the detention wing where Sofia was held. Every night, she transmitted data to the Revenant, which lurked in the nebula just outside scanning range. Every morning, she woke up terrified she'd been discovered. Finally, Thane sent the signal, "Tomorrow, 0300 hours. Be ready." Elena barely slept. She lay in her cramped quarters, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Sofia. Her daughter's laugh, the way she'd roll her eyes at bad jokes, the fierce independence that had probably kept her sane through 8 months of captivity. "Hold on, baby. I'm coming." At 2:45, Elena slipped out of her quarters and made her way to the security hub. The guard on duty, a young man she'd shared meals with, looked up in surprise. "Vasquez, what are you doing here?" She stunned him with a borrowed weapon, hating herself, but not hesitating. He'd wake up in a few hours with a headache, better than what the Empire did to people. Her fingers flew across the security console, using codes Thane had provided. Cameras looped, sensors disabled, doors unlocked in sequence, creating a path from the detention wing to the hangar bay. Her comm crackled. "We're in. Extraction team moving to detention. Vasquez, get to the hangar. We'll meet you there." Elena ran. The fortress was massive, a labyrinth of corridors and checkpoints. Alarms started blaring. Someone had noticed the security breach. She heard shouting, boots pounding on metal floors.
She reached the hangar just as the Revenant punched through the bay doors, its weapon systems shredding defensive turrets. The ship was beautiful in a brutal way, all sharp angles and aggressive design, built for speed and violence. The boarding ramp dropped. Crix waved frantically, "Move, move, move!" But Elena didn't move. She stood frozen, scanning the hangar for Sofia. Then she saw them, Thane and Senna, carrying stunned guards' weapons, escorting a group of prisoners toward the ship. And there, in the middle of the group, dirty and thin, but alive, Sofia! Her head snapped up. "Mom?" They ran to each other, colliding in an embrace that knocked the breath from Elena's lungs. Sofia was crying, Elena was crying, and somewhere behind them Thane was shouting about Imperial reinforcements. "We have to go," Elena gasped, pulling Sofia toward the ship. "Now!" They made it 3 steps before the first Imperial strike team appeared, weapons raised. Thane moved like liquid violence, his Vel'kari combat training evident in every precise strike. He dropped 2 soldiers before they could fire. Senna and Crix laid down covering fire, but more were coming, too many. "Get them on the ship," Thane ordered, physically throwing Sofia and Elena toward Crix. "Get everyone out." "What about you?" Elena shouted. "I'll buy you time. Go!" Something in his voice, the finality of it, made Elena's blood freeze. "No, no, you're coming with us!" But Thane was already moving deeper into the hangar, drawing the Imperial forces away from the Revenant. His weapons blazed, each shot precise, buying seconds with his life. Crix grabbed Elena's arm. "We have to leave now or we all die." Elena looked at Sofia, her daughter, her reason for everything, and then at Thane, fighting alone against an army. She made a decision she'd regret forever. "Sofia, get on the ship. Go with Crix." "Mom, what are you—" "Go!" Elena broke free and ran toward Thane, grabbing a fallen weapon as she went. She wasn't a soldier, wasn't trained for this, but she was a mother who'd learned from pirates that sometimes you fight for people even when it's hopeless. She reached Thane's position, providing covering fire that was more enthusiastic than accurate. "What are you doing?" Thane roared. "I told you to—" "I'm saved your daughter. I'm not leaving you to die for it." "That's not how this works." "Then change how it works." An explosion rocked the hangar. The Revenant was taking fire. If they didn't leave now, everyone would die. Thane grabbed Elena's arm. "Can you navigate by starlight?" "What?" "I'm going to show you something my people used to do, something the Empire could never learn because they didn't understand stars aren't just fire, they're guides." His eyes blazed with that Vel'kari intensity. "Do you trust me?" "Yes." "Then close your eyes and listen." It was insane. They were in the middle of a firefight, and he was asking her to close her eyes. But Elena did it, and Thane's voice dropped to a resonant hum, a song in frequencies she felt more than heard. And suddenly she could sense them, the stars beyond the station, the gravitational currents flowing through space, the paths between them, invisible roads only the Vel'kari had ever mastered. "Now run," Thane whispered. "Run and don't look back. You'll know the way." They ran together, weaving through fire and chaos, following paths that shouldn't have existed. Elena couldn't explain it. She just knew which way was safe, which corridors would be clear, how to reach the Revenant through impossible odds. They burst through the last doorway, just as Doc Marlowe was about to seal the ship. "About damn time!" he bellowed, dragging them aboard. The Revenant launched, its engines screaming as Imperial fighters pursued. Senna threw the ship into maneuvers that defied physics, diving into the nebula where sensor readings became unreliable and only instinct mattered. They emerged 3 hours later in uncharted space, alive against all probability.
In the ship's medical bay, Doc Marlowe checked Sofia over while Elena held her daughter's hand, refusing to let go. The girl was malnourished and traumatized, but whole. Alive.
"You came for me," Sofia whispered. I thought I'd never see you again." "I will always come for you. Always." Later, Elena found Thane on the observation deck, staring at the stars. His hands were wrapped in bandages, burns from covering their escape. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything." "You didn't have to come back for me." "Yes, I did. You taught me that. Pirates protect their own." Thane smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "You're not a pirate." "Maybe not officially, but Crick says you're short a crew member since Hendricks retired, and I happen to be very good at cargo operations." "It's a dangerous life. The Empire will hunt us forever." "They were going to steal my daughter and turn her into a weapon. I'm already committed to hunting them back." Elena extended her hand. "So what do you say, Captain? Do you have room for a mother-daughter team who have absolutely nothing left to lose and everything to fight for?" Thane looked at her hand, then at Sofia, who was watching from the doorway with hope in her eyes, then back at the crew who'd gathered to hear the answer. Finally, he took Elena's hand. "Welcome to the Revenant. Fair warning, the pay is terrible, the work is illegal, and we probably won't live to see retirement." Sounds perfect. 6 months later, the Revenant had become infamous throughout the Nebula Cluster. Not just as pirates, but as liberators, freeing prisoners from imperial facilities, stealing supplies for refugee colonies, dismantling the Empire's operations one bold strike at a time. Sofia discovered she had a talent for communications and cryptography. Elena became the crew's quartermaster, managing their increasingly complex operations. And Thane found something he'd thought lost forever. Purpose that wasn't just revenge, a family that wasn't just memory. One night, as they prepared for another raid, Elena found him teaching Sofia Vel'kari navigation techniques, the same ones he'd taught her mother. "The stars are singing. You just have to learn the language." Sofia's eyes were closed, her face concentrated. Then they snapped open, wide with wonder. "I felt it! I felt the current!" "Good, that's very good. Your mother learned in minutes during a firefight. You're already showing more control than she did." "Hey!" Elena laughed. "I was under pressure." "You were magnificent." Thane stood, resting a hand on Sofia's shoulder. "Both of you are. Your people have a saying, blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. I think the Vel'kari would have agreed." Elena moved to stand beside them, looking out at the stars, the beautiful, singing stars that had guided them home. "Then I guess we're family. A weird, illegal, constantly hunted family, but family nonetheless." "The best kind," agreed Thane. And somewhere in the vast darkness of the nebula, the Revenant continued its work, not just surviving, but thriving, not just fighting, but protecting. Because pirates might steal and plunder and break every law the Empire wrote, but they never, ever abandoned their own. And that made all the difference.